All right. Stephen, Rabbi Ari, who wants to start?
Man, we've been with each other too long, Steve.
That's funny.
I should
That's
have
funny.
known. I walked into that.
There you go. I'll start and you close. There we go. Hi guys, welcome back for another Havdalah. It's great to see you all, and I hope you guys are having a fantastic time. Hope you guys are all staying safe, staying healthy, being happy. Um, Again, we're just gonna do this. It's kind of really cool. That we can connect as a community this way in Havdalah. So make sure you guys are talking in the chat and say hello to each other. Havdalah is a separation, as we say every week, between the Shabbat and the rest of the week, and so we're gonna launch ourselves forward into this next week with just remembering God's goodness and God's grace for us in this time. So yeah, we're gonna start off by doing our blessings, and Jessica's gonna do all the cool elements and stuff.
Just so you know, your mom's the first one to say hi.
Nice. Hey, mama. And yeah, so you guys can clap and sing along from home. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam bore peri hagafen bore peri hagafen amen. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam bore mine vesamim bore mine vesamim amen. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam bore meorei ha'esh bore meorei ha'esh amen. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie. Lie lie la 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 lie 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 la 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 lie lie la lie la 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 lie lie la la lie la la lie. Eliyahu Hanavi Eliyahu Hatishbi Eliyahu 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 Hagiladi Bimheya beyamenu Yavo Eleinu Imashiach ben David Imashiach ben David Eliyahu Hanavi Eliyahu Hatishbi Eliyahu 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 Hagiladi. Amen. And now we say Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov. Your mama says, "Hey, baby."
See, I should be in the chat typing. Let me go to YouTube. Okay. Say hello to everybody.
All
Really
right,
quick,
so
really quick. Sorry, I don't think we've ever explained for a lot of people that don't know about Havdalah and different traditions around Havdalah. But I held up the flame to the camera tonight, and I've never done that. And I'm sorry that I've never done that. But the reason that we want to reflect the light in our fingernails. That's tradition, right? To carry the light with you into Shabbat. I mean, we can't physically carry light. We can't physically carry joy. I mean, unless you carry around a flask with you, which isn't kosher, so don't do that. But yeah, the reason we get our fingers close to the flame is so that it reflects, the light reflects in our fingernails. So yeah, for those of you that don't know. And in your palms, you'll see a lot of people put their palms up just to have that connection with the light. So sorry if we've never explained that, guys. Sorry, VHS family. And those of you that are watching that are not VHS family, we love you guys too.
But you could be BHS family at some point.
Exactly. I like it. Nice plug.
All right. So we are, I think last time I did 5 chapters. First of all, I need to apologize for those of you who faithfully watch every week. Shabbat is a day that we set apart, and we try not to do any labor, any work. But the Torah does permit us, when somebody gets their ox stuck in a ditch on Shabbat, to help them get the ox out of the ditch. And so I was moving oxen last Shabbat, and was enjoying that. So I think the week before, so it's been 2 weeks, and I think I did chapters 1 through 5. And as a reminder, we're doing this. I'm taking a look at this book called Sabbath, A Gift of Time. Let's see if I can get it to show up. Oh. Looks like that, and it's written by a dear friend of our family's. Her name is Bonnie Wilkes, and we may have a few of these in the Judaica shop, but I also know that Gateway, it's now put out by Gateway Press, and so I'm sure you can order it on Gateway's website as well. So I'm taking a look at the next 5 chapters, chapters 6 through 10. And there's some really interesting things that I wanted to note as we were talking about Shabbat. First of all, in chapter 6, the premise that she takes for chapter 6 is that Shabbat is as old as creation. In fact, our Creator took time after a 6-day work period to rest and reflect. And if he did it, then how much more so should we as frail human beings follow his example? It's an interesting point, and actually, if any of you have ever tried working 7 days a week for an extended period of time, the longer you do it, the less productive you actually are. And so what I've noticed actually is and this is just will even work in a day. Like if you're working during the day and all of a sudden you're like falling asleep doing whatever it is that you're doing, you can't focus. If you just take like a 5-minute nap. Now, some of us can't take just a 5-minute nap. If it's a significant period more than that, it's probably not quite so helpful during the day. But if you can just take just a moment where you aren't focused on work and just relax for a minute during a day, or if you take a whole day during a week, what it does is it allows your body to reset itself, just from a physiological standpoint. And then when you come back to labor, it actually makes your labor more productive. So pause from work is good. One of the things that Israel is instructed by God when they leave Egypt, they're in the wilderness, and God, I don't know if you guys remember this, but in Exodus chapter 16, they complain, the Israelites complain and say, hey, we're hungry. God says, okay, let me give you manna from heaven, and I'm going to give it to you 6 days a week. But on the sixth day, you're to gather twice as much, and you're not to gather anything on Shabbat. And so the provision that is provided on Friday, on the day before Shabbat, is supposed to last throughout Shabbat. Now, just as a side note, for those of you who have never asked the question, this is one of the reasons we have 2 loaves of challah when we have Erev Shabbat. We have 2 loaves because God gave us 2 loaves of bread to have, one for Friday and one for Saturday. One of the meanings behind that. Chapter 7, she talks about that the principles of this world generally fall in these categories: accumulating wealth, increasing knowledge, and pursuing pleasure. And Shabbat is actually the release of all 3 of those, because you are allowing your body to rest, but you are also seeking the Creator and worshiping the Creator and deepening a relationship between oneself and the Creator. What we see, there's a lot of, if you've never actually studied what you can and cannot do on Shabbat, at least according to Jewish tradition, there's actually quite a bit of detail and thought that is put into it. And partly it derives from Leviticus chapter 23. What's interesting about Leviticus chapter 23 is it's the chapter that sets out the Moedim for us, or God's appointed times. And when we think of the Moedim, we think of Passover, we think of Shavuot, we think of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and even we may think of like Purim and Hanukkah, even though they're not listed in Leviticus 23. But Shabbat is actually the first Moed that is listed in Leviticus 23. In fact, it is the base upon which all of the other Moedim are built. And so Shabbat is actually the most important to understanding the rest of the life cycle, the rest of the calendar holidays or appointed times. And what's interesting is when you call Shabbat an appointed time, we often say Shabbat is holy, it's set apart, but it's an appointed time. And when you have an appointment, this is just in our modern calendar. When you have an appointment, at least I was taught, and I was taught this the difficult way in flight school. I was taught that if you're not 10 minutes early, then you're late for your appointment. And so we have, at least what we see in the Torah is we have a standing appointed time, or a standing appointment, if you will, between us and God on the 7th day of the week every week. And it just makes an interesting thought when we focus so much on, oh man, I got to put it on my calendar, on my Google Calendar, my iCalendar, so that I'm not late for whatever appointment it is. But I can nearly bet that nobody has Shabbat on their calendar. Like just, for their calendar to send them a reminder, hey, by the way, it's Shabbat, you don't be late for your appointment. But this is like one of the most important calendar events that we can ever have. In keeping Shabbat, what we experience is a restoration of the body, soul, and spirit. It's something that brings wholeness back into it. Not that you're not whole during the week, but when you're working all the time, you lose your focus on God. Maybe not all of us, but you lose a little bit. But Shabbat, what it does, it brings fullness back to that and allows us to focus on God. And what we're doing is we are ceasing productivity of our material lives for 24 hours to concentrate on refreshing our spiritual life. Again, not that you shouldn't be refreshing your spiritual life daily, because you should. You should be spending time reading the Bible, praying, having quiet moments with the Lord. But Shabbat is a full 24-hour cycle. In fact, when we do Havdalah, we do it a little bit later because we're trying to extend Shabbat because we don't want it to leave. And that's just part of what we do. Let's see. What else does she say? Here's an interesting title head. It's chapter 9. It says, Shabbat is not always convenient. When you don't have something built into the rhythm of your life, actually it's inconvenient. Or it's always perceived to be inconvenient. You have to sometimes like build in the habit, and then the habit becomes convenient. Although something will always emerge. Hey, I need to do this. I need to I got to get this work done real quick. Let me just work a little bit more. But you know what? Work. Here's my rabbinical advice. Work is just like what Yeshua says. Yeshua says, the poor you will have with you always. Me, you have with you for a limited amount of time. Work, you will have with you always. Shabbat, you have with you today. And then it departs. And so it's important to enjoy the time that we have with Shabbat when it's Shabbat. And then when it's not Shabbat, then we move on and we go into our work lives again. I think I mentioned this the last time I was talking about this book, but there's a saying, and she hints at it here, but she doesn't give the actual saying. I'm pretty sure the saying is more than the Jewish people have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. And the way she puts it is Shabbat prevailed as the foundation of Jewish survival during eras of suppression, domination, and genocide, even during the Holocaust. Shabbat remembrance and observance are central to Jewish life, whether or not they are convenient. So sometimes things that are essential are not convenient. And I'm going to finish with this last chapter. It's not the last chapter, it's chapter 10, the last chapter for this evening. She talks about Moses when Moses is tending the sheep and then he sees a burning bush and he goes over and God says, you're standing on holy ground, take your sandals off. And first he says, Moses, and then he says, you're standing on holy ground, take your sandals off. Moses falls on his face, takes his sandals off. And then God gives him what she calls, and I would agree with, life-changing instruction. What's interesting, she doesn't mention this in her book, but I've noticed it, and I think I mentioned it the last time I spoke on this portion. When Moses is tending the sheep, the Hebrew makes very careful mention that he's tending it and that he notices something burning off to the side. And then it says he noticed that a bush was not being consumed by the fire, but it was on fire. And the commentators indicate that Moses was just happened to look off and see something. So something caught his eye. God did something to catch Moses's eye, but it took Moses staring at it and paying attention for an extended period of time to realize that it wasn't just a fire. It was a bush that was not being consumed, but still on fire. So in order to see something like that, if anybody's ever seen a forest fire or anything, or even just been at a bonfire at a like a retreat or something, you can stare at the fire and you can see it's being consumed, and over a relatively short period of time. But in order to see it's not being consumed, you have to stay a long period of time to notice that nothing's changing other than there's fire. So Moses takes the time to notice before he actually walks over to the fire to see what's going on. And it's at that point that the Lord says, you've entered holy ground. And so Bonnie Wilkes makes the observation that it's like we come to Shabbat, and Shabbat is holy ground. And God says, Moses, this is a holy place. Take your shoes off. And so he humbles himself, takes his shoes off, and then from that point on, he receives life-changing instruction. And so if we in our daily lives allow times for God, for us to be set apart with God, and we humble ourselves and we allow God to call our name, he will reveal his heart to us, and he'll give us the direction that we need to be going. But it takes time, and it takes us taking an extended moment to notice that something is different, and to then be inquisitive as to see what it is that God's calling us to, and then he'll call us by name and give us some instructions. So next time we'll pick up reading with chapter 11 next Shabbat. So I'm enjoying this. I hope you guys are enjoying it. We will probably finish this book in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll probably spend one more week talking about Shabbat from a different book, which I'm also looking forward to. So anyways, you guys, Jessica, Stephen, you guys got any comments? No,
not today.
I just really like what you said, or what she said, about taking the time to observe.
Yeah.
I just thought that was really good.
It's actually really difficult in our society because we're so busy accomplishing the 35 million tasks in a day that we've set ourselves to do. It's actually difficult for God to get our attention. So, all right. Well, I guess look forward to seeing you guys next week. If you're watching this video and you want to see some funny, interesting, some of you might think gross, go check out my video that we posted on Wednesday, taste testing biblical protein. So go give it a watch, and you can order the stuff if you want to give it a try.
I will probably be doing that at some point.
I have an extra bar, Stephen, if you want to try one.
There you go. Throwback to camp days. There we go.
I know, right? That's exactly what I thought. So thanks everyone for joining us. See you next week. Shavua Tov.